There we go. We are live still, doesn't matter. Tonight I want to talk about some testing that I did. You can see this is when we were doing some turbo stuff at West Tech this last weekend, and even before that, although this particular photo is from just this last weekend. And what I want to talk about tonight are actually a couple of things. It's going to be primarily exhaust related, and obviously for good reason, because we have that, and we have this, and then we have this. Kind of different exhaust sizes. Oh, well, that's already there. Okay. We'll remove that one. Okay, so the question is for today, or one of the questions, one of the many questions is, we know that by now, if you guys have been coming here a lot, you know that turbos obviously respond to bigger exhaust setups. And what I like to do, just like with the intake manifold, we want to put the throttle body size on that matches the opening in the intake manifold. A lot of times guys do the same thing with their turbos. So if you have a turbo that has a 3-inch, like let's say on this turbo, that has a 3-inch exhaust exit on the turbine side, common, V-band flange, we put exhaust on there that has, you can see there's a provision on this particular one. And this is the way we normally like to do it. Has a provision for an oxygen sensor, so we can do the tuning that we need to do. And so if you have a 3-inch, it's 3-inch V-band, then you run a 3-inch pipe out there. Normally we just run a section of it, however long. And that way we can get a good enough reading on the O2 sensor. It's not a full exhaust. A full exhaust would react differently, be a bit more restrictive, particularly if you're on the smaller side of these exhaust couplings. And then if you have a 3.5-inch, like you might have on some of these, slightly bigger turbos, and then you can have a 4 or a 5-inch or 4.5-inch, depending on what turbo you're using. Some of the T6 stuff gets really big. And so you have a giant size exhaust. That's all pretty normal. And we all understand that you should not take something that has a 4-inch exit, like that wants to take a 4-inch piece of tubing and V-band clamp and neck it down to 2.5 inches. Or even 3 inches. Necking it down is not good. So it should be at least the same diameter. The question for tonight is, and that's why I'm showing this photo, is do you gain anything by necking it up? So in this case, you can see we have, in this particular one, it goes from 3 to 3.5. So we have a turbo that has a V-band, a 3-inch size for a 3-inch V-band on the exit side of the turbine. And then we have stepped it up using a cone. Now you could do it another way too. You could expand it up if your local muffler shop. A lot of muffler shops can't do this. Usually they stop at like 3 inches. You can do 2, 2.5, 3, and then they'll swedge it out for you so that you could go from 2, but then it steps up rather abruptly. In this case, we have a cone which kind of flares out, and then we have the other V-band that will accept in this case, a 3.5-inch piece of tubing. So we go from 3 to 3.5, but the exit of the turbo is 3, and there's even a length of 3-inch pipe before it expands up. The question is, you guys let me know in the comments, do you think that does anything? Do you think that putting the bigger exhaust after the 3-inch section, there's a 3-inch exit on the turbo and then a length of 3-inch pipe, and then we make it bigger, does that help? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And for the people that are watching this after the live feed, you guys let me know. What do you think? Do you think that it would do anything? Do you think it makes a difference? I mean, is the 3-inch ultimately the restriction, or does having it bigger after that also help? You guys can go ahead and put your answers down before I tell you what the answer is, because the answer is yes, it does help. And not only does it help, it helps quite a bit. We've tested this on a number of different turbos. We tested this on this one that has a 3. We also did one that was 3.5 to 4. And so it definitely makes a difference stepping that up, even if the exit side of the turbo is smaller. And this is one of the common questions that I get, because people want to know, well, hey, my turbo is only 3 inches. Can't the exit side, the turbine side, exits in a 3-inch piece of tubing with a V-band on it. Can I just run that? Can I just run the 3-inch exhaust? Yes, you certainly can. You can run that. You can run into mufflers. You can do all that stuff. The more things, the longer the pipe is, and you can make the situation or make the system more restrictive by putting mufflers on it. Sometimes you can put mufflers on it that don't have any restriction at all. But you can also make it more restrictive by doing that. Obviously, the guys that are trying to make, insane horsepower have big 5-inch exhausts exiting out the fender well or out the hood, or what hood exits or that kind of thing, so that it's as short as possible and as big as possible. And in no way does it hinder the outlet of the turbo. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about, most of the guys that are here on a daily basis know this, but do you think that when you run a big exhaust on there, does it hurt the response? Because for some reason that's out there in internet land that, hey, if I keep the small exhaust on there, it will improve the boost response. On the other side of the turbo, going into the turbo, that's certainly possible. But on the exit side of the turbo, that doesn't work. You don't want more restriction any more than you want. These are the same guys that want back pressure in the exhaust. You do not want back pressure in your exhaust. Do not let anybody try to convince you that is the case. It is not the case. Your exhaust, if you have back pressure in your exhaust, that does not add power. So you do not want any back pressure in your exhaust. Same thing with this. What you want after the turbo, as all of your exhaust from all the power that you made is exiting the turbo, you want to make it as unrestricted as possible. You want to make it as free flowing as possible. And you can hear it when you're running these motors on the dyno. And if you have a restrictive exhaust on there, the thing sounds choked up. If you get rid of that, all of a sudden the motor sounds happy. It's like, oh yeah, now we're ready. Thank you for taking the banana out of the tailpipe, and we're working much, much better. We'll show you some of the other stuff. This is the 5.3. It's an L33 with the turbo on it. We got a single turbo with a Y pipe. We're using a stock exhaust manifolds, and this is where we stepped up the thing from a 3 out to a 3.5. This might even be bigger than 3.5. Come to think of it, this might have stepped up to, I think that this was like 3 3/4. It was some kind of weird size. I think that the front part of it is 4, and then the second part of it is like 3 3/4. Because the other piece that I have, the other exhaust that I have, is an actual 3.5. It's just a 45-degree bend, but it's a single piece. It's not all scabbed together like this one. But this does make more power like this. So anytime you could put a bigger exhaust on, definitely do that. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is that should not be surprising, although we're answering a specific question. If you have a section of pipe and then you expand it out, is it good? Yes, it's good. It's better than not having that. It's better than having it be the same small diameter all the way through. So definitely step up on the exhaust. But then here's the question that I get, and I get this about a lot of stuff, the exhaust. Well, can I still make whatever kind of power output we get out of maximizing or maxing a turbo of some particular turbo size? Let's say we have 1,000 horsepower turbo. Can I still make 1,000 horsepower if I restrict the exhaust? No, you can't. It's not going to be nearly as happy, and it's not going to make as much power. It's still going to do well, and it's not going to kill it, but it's not going to do as well. See, the other question this is along the same lines as when people ask me, well, okay, that works good, and you ran it on E85, which I normally do on the turbo stuff. Well, but what's the most I can make on pump gas? You're creating a restrictor plate turbo motor by having to run it on pump gas. I know lots of guys run it on pump gas, and that's fantastic. But you have to realize that you're not going to get the most out of it on pump gas, because you have to run much less timing, so it doesn't detonate, and much less boost than the turbo is capable of, and the motor combination and the turbo are capable of, if you had octane. And also if you have E85, you're going to make more power anyway. But even just having the timing in there and being able to turn the boost up to where you don't have to worry about detonation, you're going to make a lot more power. Yeah, you can make power with a turbo with pump gas. Lots of guys do that, and you're still going to make a lot of power. It's just that you don't get to have maximum power with pump gas. Those two things don't go together. And then we get the same thing with intercooling. Well, I don't want to run an intercooler, or I can't fit an intercooler. What's the most I can run? I don't know. I don't know. What you're asking me basically is, what is the detonation threshold? And unless you run your combination, and when I say your combination, the way that you run it in your vehicle with all of the weird things that are going on with your vehicle in the temperature that you're running it at, and under the conditions that you're running at. If you run it a bunch of times, it gets hotter and yada, yada, yada. Are you taking where you're taking your air inlet from the turbo in, because a lot of times the guys that are running non-intercooled stuff also don't care about getting cold air to the turbo. I'm like you just double whammied yourself because you're getting hot air and then you're not recooling it again with an intercooler. So it's the same thing. You cannot run as much timing. You cannot run as much boost. You don't have the added benefit of intercooling. And this is especially the case if you're doing the double whammy here. If you have a non-intercooled combination and you're running it on pump gas, that's kind of hard to do. And I say that having done that a lot, when I had my Mustang with the Vortec on it, that's all that I ran. I ran pump gas. Usually we ran 91 in it, but a lot of times I ran 87. Tried not to get on it too much when I had 87 in it because it would rattle. And then when we ran the Silver State and stuff, we would put a mixture of good gas in it, and it never had an intercooler on it. We weren't ever running a lot of boost, and a Vortec is kind of a rising boost curve, so it's not quite the detonation prone thing that you would have if you had full boost at a lower engine speed where you have a lot more torque. But still, it can be problematic. And so these are the kinds of things. Exhaust, big exhaust, good, yes. Pump gas, yeah, you can make more, you can make boost and make power, just not as much as you could otherwise with more timing and more boost. And then non-intercooled, obviously also problematic. And I say that if I run a turbo on the truck, I might run it without an intercooler, but it will have cold air though. So we'll see what you guys got going on. This is all good stuff. While we're all here, let's because obviously we want to hear the motor run, right? Let's get to. Do you want to see it again? By the way, that's a safe air fuel. The other thing I'm going to do is when I do I specifically took a photo of this, of the Holly of the timing table that we ran when we did a bunch of this turbo testing. So you guys can see it. I mean, under boost, it's really simple. It's 20 degrees. It's 20 degrees everywhere. So, I take that back. It's not 20 degrees everywhere. It's 20 degrees 3 or 4 cells after the load in. The load in's a lower number because we want to keep that safe. But you guys get to see it, so you won't have to answer questions. I'll put that photo of the timing curve or timing table that we did when we ran this testing. I'll put that up so you guys can see it because I get asked that all the time. And I'll put this in the video. Bear in mind, none of the other stuff is in any way optimized, nor is it recommended. Again, I'm only interested in the idle RPM, what the timing is there, so the thing will idle, and then as it transitions through, we probably did the first 2 or the end 2 or 3 rows for the NA power output, so that's going to be about 28 or 30 degrees or something there. And then we started taking timing away as we go up in boost. But eventually we got to a point where I didn't want to scale the timing in there. I just put 20 in kind of through most of the curve. But like I said, on the load in, it's much less than that. It could be down in the teens or something, down in the low teens, 12 degrees or something, just so that it's safe for the load in, especially as we started turning the boost up. We wanted to make that all work. So we'll do this one more time. There we go. Okay, let's see what you guys got going on. Scottish Untrue, Jordan. Turbo goodness. Exhaust related. I'm exhausted trying to get pro tuning this Phytech. Uh-oh. Danny Bill. I have a question of an S488, 88 millimeter dual ball bearing, T6. 20 pounds, my LQ4, 799, sloppy stage 3 cam. What intake manifold do you recommend for a strictly top end only? Trans is a 6L90. Are you trying to, like, how much RPM do you want? Do you want more than 7,000? There are no secret squirrels with information. What secret squirrels? Trying to keep the transmission stock but happy. You're trying to keep the transmission stock with that combination? Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of good luck there. Are there still pulses after a turbine wheel? I hear of defined steps and exhaust causing a reverse wave. You're talking about a reflected wave coming back through the turbo? It's not going to come back through the turbo and get to the exhaust valve, if that's what you're talking about. It would help because it's like water flow. If you step it higher, the volume decreases, thus reducing back pressure. Longer pipe creates more restriction due to friction on the wall, so larger tubing is better until it's so big it stops any scavenging effect. There's not really going to be any scavenging effect from after the turbo. My downpipe is 5.5. There you go. I don't want torque because the 6L90 is stock. I'm sure after a certain horsepower, the smaller exhaust becomes restrictive. Yeah, Elias, then you probably should just get one of these short runner deals then. A high ram or low ram or BTR Trinity or that kind of thing. If you have a small exhaust after the turbo, does it create back pressure on the wastegate, essentially keeping it closed so the turbo gets all the exhaust and spools faster? It actually, if you create back pressure on the wastegate, you would tend to open the wastegate. So the reverse of what you're saying would happen. It's boost a particle or a wave. I'm lightheaded. I can't tell. Not falling for no banana, no tailpipe. They can handle well over the rated horsepower and torque. Bill is telling Elias that the transmission he thinks will work. 20 pounds on a 6 liter. It's going to be a lot of power. It's going to be way over that torque number. Bends also create back pressure because every bend is like a wall before the turn. It's basically what I have on my Ego Boost stroker that makes 800 horsepower on 40 pounds. Why do you full dual flow masters leaving stoplight? You don't have to grab gas like with headers. I don't know what the flow masters have to do with headers. Those are different things. Rich Wood, thank you. Hit the like button. The one on the top. Pizza is better than pump gas. There you go. I agree with that. Should I transition to the 4-inch and turn down under the car is still beneficial? I think it's about 13 inches long plus the turn down. Yes, make it bigger. Building a small block 400 for El Camino. No turbo, but I put cutouts on. Will cutouts give it any more power when I open it or just make it louder? It's definitely going to make it louder. And it depends on what the power output of the motor is and the size of the exhaust is. We went from a 2.5 to 3-inch exhaust on something that was making like 550 horsepower and is worth about 10. Richard, can you text a Cloy's hex adjust timing set? A hex adjust on what? Is this on an LS? You wouldn't be testing the timing set. You would just be testing whether or not the cam responds to advancing or retarding the cam timing. Do you believe octane adders and pump gas are equal to race gas? I don't think that they do, but I would really like to see that test. The problem is that I don't even know if, a singular octane test, the way that they test for octane, which is a single cylinder like compression deal, I don't know that tells us the way that they're going to act and behave, with cylinder pressure and boost and temperature changes and stuff. I don't know that it tells us everything. Where I come from, pump gas is 100 octane, $10 a gallon. 100 would be good. It's not as good as E85, but it is good. I was thinking that's where the better response rumor started. You want to be 18 inch so you don't get fresh air on the O2 sensor. Yeah, and in a lot of ours, we do get some reversion like at idle and stuff. But again, I don't really care about that. But once you go to wide open throttle, you know, there's enough exhaust flowing and you're not getting reversion there than at wide open throttle. It doesn't become a problem. Octane boosters are proven to raise. Just see what they do to the plugs. You can run any boost you want. Sterling, not only good quality octane boosters, not gas station stuff. Howdy, y'all. Cooler, intercooler, steak and beer. All right. Are you going to have a poll? I can't do a poll with the way that this is set up. There's our exhaust. What year did you take the Mustang off the road? I don't know how long it's been sitting. It's been quite a while. 7,500 maximum. Yeah, you could get a high ram or a low ram. Like I said, a BTR Trinity. Stock LQ4, the truck Norris. Okay, we just ran one of those. Any idea of vacuum at idle? Do I have any? Yeah, power brake should work, no problem. Do go long or short oil at these levels and outlook on the economy. Is everybody okay over there? I met Oliver, the diesel Nova Warrior. Oh, cool. BMW is apparently doing boost with 14.7 to 1 air fuel with the help of wave events. Okay. I was referring to Phytech being secretive with the information about how to access the tuning features on the product. You would think that would be information that they would want to tell you if you're tuning it. Most of the octane boosters that we tested didn't do much, if anything at all. Nowhere near race gas. Car is a Chevelle for drag and drive. I want to go 6 summer this week. Hardware is a Dominator. All that's good. The thing that I'm worried about is a cammed 6-liter on 20 pounds is going to make more than that trans is rated at. Variable compression engine octane is tested on. Omni update. I haven't gone to get the Omni yet. I'm running a 58 82 AR on a 383. A 58 millimeter turbo on a 383? Or are you running 2 of those? Vacuum boosting. I have a vacuum assist still with a 5.7 truck Norris 26-20 stall and a tune that needs refinement. Didn't Nissan make a variable compression engine using some goofy connecting rod setup? Somebody did a thing where they leaned the head away or something, I thought. But the compression testing that I saw was not a running motor. It was like a mechanical lever. Just a question. I've never dynoed my truck. It's an 1500 4.8. I added a Spectre intake, long tubes, and a 3-inch exhaust all the way back. No mufflers or resonators. Okay. $58.58 is the 500 horsepower turbo for my EcoBoost. Andrew, headers and air intake might be 15 or 20. I now see why reviews are bad. Not so much the product, but access to the tuning features is ridiculous. You pay extra or some nonsense, or you can't access stuff. Yeah, I don't really like that. Saw an article about Nissan's variable motor, odd setup, and personally don't remember why they said it would be beneficial. A variable compression motor definitely would be beneficial, particularly under cruise, so that where you don't have a lot of load and you have less chance of detonation, you could get better fuel mileage that way. And it's just another thing that you're varying, just like varying cam timing. If you can do that and make it the best that it can be, given the knock limitation, that's nothing but good, right? They think that's bad, get into Motec. You have to buy features that are already in the unit. That's not good. You can change dynamic compression with a variable geometry turbo. Is that what you're talking about with VGT? Do you really need to change the static compression? Not under boosted stuff, although guys are, though, or the OEMs are. Are you speaking about the paywall traction control Holly has on the ECU and charge for it? The prices even went up from the past. Holly has that too? The Nissan engine is under federal investigation for failures used from 2019 to 2021. VCT, not VGT. Okay, that's different. Variable cam is nice. Also, variable geometry turbo is also cool. Looking to make 400 on a 383 Chevy with my 5858, or should I go twins? That's a small turbo. You're gonna want something bigger than a 383. You should get the turbo that we are going to have on sale later this week or certainly next week. Nissan hasn't done anything good since the 240SX. You don't like the 370s or the 350s? Danny's in the house. Shadow Ops. I'm looking to go around 450 to 500 horsepower. My question is, it would be better to go with an NSR cam or go something like a stage 2 cam and upgrade some of the internals. I can't remember, are you trying to do a turbo on that, Andrew? Oh, yeah. If you're not trying to do if you're not talking about doing a turbo, you're not going to get to 450 or 500 horsepower on a 4.8. That takes a lot to get there. It takes ported heads and a big intake manifold, a big camshaft, all that stuff. And you're not going to want to drive it around. It's not going to be a very good combination. It's way easier just to add a turbo. It's 528 from Holly for the traction control. I have a pair of HE351 VGT turbos. Maybe I'll use them one day. The rods on the engine rock on the crank journal with the controlled variable rod on the other end of the rocker end cap area. That's how they change the compression. Okay. Are they just changing then? Are they bringing the piston just down lower in the hole then? Are they just changing the rod length? Skyline R34 is a good car. Yeah, they just didn't offer it in the States. I do like Skylines. Sometime in the near future, yes, to turbo. There you go. Looking for a good single turbo size, slap on a 408. We'll be on E85. We'll be a street car, but knocking off passes in Mexico every now and then. Steven, you're going to want the turbo that I just tested this weekend. It will go into 4-digit stuff. It'll be really good on your 408. Have you tested a VGT? Do they have a small amount of influence on the power curve? Well, they can be fairly responsive. I've only tested factory ones, but they're just too problematic to be something that I would want on there all the time. The GTR is a better argument. That is an impressive car. It's way out of my price range, but it is pretty cool. Changes the compression. Yeah, that's what I thought. It just brings the piston down lower. What's that turbo you have for sale? We have something that's way better than a GT45 that is way more responsive and makes as much or more peak power. And then we also have one that's like the 1100 horsepower or 1200 horsepower one. $520 for traction control. Link includes it for free. Nissan Racing helped me build a dirt track engine, so they wanted more racing. I would have never parts that they had me use have worked together. That's a weird oblong rod that has a similar movement to the crank and changes the compression based on the movement up and down that rod lobe. I'll have to check that out. I thought that I remember looking at that. It doesn't ring a bell like what the actuation was. I've got an Infinity G35. I'm LS swapping. I went with a Sicky swap kit. Okay. G35, S400. Do you have videos over the L86? I think I have one. No, I don't think I have any L86 stuff. I've never run one. I've only run an L83. I have some stuff that I did when I was back with the guys at Brand 2 Racing. They've run some of that Gen 5 stuff with heads, cam, and intake manifold. And you can make a lot of power with that 6.2. Are you getting cams back in soon? Yeah, they'll be here this week. The Link as in Fury Extreme. My engine makes 550 horsepower NA. You want 400 extra? Yeah, so you're going to want something a lot bigger than that turbo. You're going to want 2 of those. But 2 of the ones that we have would get you at least that much. C24 block, L20 crank and rods, 240 SX dome top pistons, L18 peanut head, and a Mercedes-Benz Master Link to shorten timing chain because they didn't make one. It was fast. Had to use solid copper head gaskets because it kept blowing head gaskets. I'm looking to run twin low boost turbos on my 462 valve. Got to get away with bolting the turbos to the exhaust manifolds. Would that be too close to the motor? No, it wouldn't be too close to the motor. The thing that you're going to have to make some sort of adapter because the turbo is not going to bolt directly onto the end of the exhaust manifold. And I don't remember on that if the exhaust manifold was too close to the block anyway. I don't know that will work out. Here, let's watch more video, shall we? Something tricky going on in that video that nobody has noticed yet. My engine makes 400 horsepower. I only need 600 horsepower to preserve the drivetrain. Is it worth still going to the bigger turbo when I get greedy? Well, that's a question you're going to have to answer because I don't know if you're going to want the more responsive thing for 600 horsepower or even 700 horsepower. Or in our case, even 800 horsepower. I don't know how much more you're going to want. Are you going to go from 600 to like 1,000 or more? Then yeah. If you're going to go from 600 to 700, then just the smaller turbo is going to work fine. Shadow Ops, you got your stuff all done? I had to register my truck today. Well, I didn't have to today. I had till the 31st. But I went and got my truck smogged because all of my check engine lights are off. So I'm happy. Where do we have the turbos for sale? They're RICHARDHOLDENERPERFORMANCE.com, but they're not up yet. They'll be up by the end of this week or the first part of next week. And then we'll have all the dyno results and videos will come out and all that stuff. How much did Aeromotive pay to place that sticker? Where is the Aeromotive sticker at? Was it on when the video was running? They do use the Aeromotive pump that works really good. Oh yeah. I don't even notice that because I just go past it. This thing is supposed to take the turbo, lightning power, and if you return timing and dump fuel, that's where you get your launch and anti-lag. Yep, you can tune all that stuff in. Of course, it had a big custom ground cam, biggest 2-barrel Holly we could find. They tried outlining it. Do you have a power level in mind for the Mustang? No, I'm not building a motor for the Mustang. I mean, we're putting together this 5.3 that you just saw, and it's already gone. We've already tested it over 900, so it's pretty easy. Like making the power with a turbo is not hard at all. I'm only putting it in there so that I can have a cool aluminum motor in the Mustang and drive it around, but it's going in there so that we can do lots of testing with it. Check engine, neutral rev, and if she revs, she's good. Link makes aftermarket ECMs, yeah. Got it registered after been out since January 2024. I thought the sticker was the main part of the video. No. Offenhauser intake. I want wrong cam stickers. I know, we really need to do that, huh? So which one of these makes more power? Which one of these exhausts? This is 3-inch, and this one is not 3-inch. Quite a bit more. Wow. Super Richie Mega Cone. There we go. You know what I really like is I really like those BTR valve covers. They make my junkyard motor look really nice. That and that intake manifold it's not new. It came from a wrecking yard, but it came off the other aluminum motor. But before I tried to run that and found out that it was damaged, we spray cleaned everything off with a Hotsy, and so that manifold is like looks new. And then the valve covers I like that have the big breathers in them with the bulkhead fittings and the AN stuff on it. It looks nice. I've never seen a smaller exhaust make more power on a turbo motor. Does it exist? Have you ever seen it? I've never seen that. A smaller exhaust may be feeding the turbo, but of the two of those, that's the one that I would pick if I had to try one of those, but definitely not a smaller exhaust after the turbo. No downpipe makes the most power. I don't think that that's the case. I think a flared exit after the turbo would make more power than no exit at all. We know that when we test and I don't know that because this is a dynamic thing with the impeller spinning and stuff, but when we test, if you've tested anything on a flow bench, when you're testing the exhaust and you're testing the head, when you put a pipe on it, it flows a lot better than when you don't have anything on it. Putting together a 6-liter 7875 now. I've ordered and waiting on a low buck truck. Will 1000 cc injectors on your website fit the factory truck manifold? Yeah, Matthew, they're designed specifically for that. Mine had short Multec injectors. Yeah, and we have the adapters for if you're plugging it into a factory ECU too. Full 4-inch working great. Fitment's not so great. It is hard to run big exhaust stuff, especially if you're trying to package it by other stuff. If you're trying to package it by the steering on one side or the AC and the heater lines and stuff. Four-inch downpipe will be enough for 1,000 horsepower. Oh yeah, I mean we ran that exhaust. The valve cover is nice. If you could get me the plain black ones for 200 ship. Find me a return or a dent special. What are those things, Tim? What is? I don't even know what those things. What do they sell for? Adrian, no downpipe makes the most power. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely lights exhaust. And when I did the test on this, and this is the thing that you guys did notice. I want you to look. I want you to look at this again. Okay, everybody, pay attention. I want you to look at this. Look at the exhaust on the left side of this motor. Look at the exhaust on the right side of this motor. The right side's harder to see. And now tell me what's going on. Are the accessories the mounts for the coils and stuff? There. Look. All right, I'll see you later. 42 horsepower, 77 foot-pounds. 135 degrees. 74, that's the fuel pressure is 51, oil pressure is 62. 74 is, I don't know why that's oil out. We don't have an oil pressure on it or an oil temperature on it. Coil mounts included in that price, not the other stuff. Okay. I didn't know what accessories that they had with that. See this, you can see the line down here. This is for the back pressure. Paint is going on. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Good in the hood. The thing that I like about the BTR valve covers, I mean, they look nice, obviously. They look fancier than stock ones. But I like the coil mounts. I like that we can have access to those. So we just unplug the wires, the 4 spark plug wires, and then unplug the coil pack. And then we can undo all 4 bolts when we're changing cams, which I do a lot of. And then so we can take that off. We can take the whole assembly off. And we don't have to take coil packs off, even though coil packs before were just, I only have them held on, when we're doing dyno testing by two bolts, just so they come off very, very easy. But even still, that's 2 less. And if you're doing it 10 times or whatever, it's less. Do you have V-bands in the store? The turbos will come with V-bands, but we can get them. So it made a pull, but made no power? No, that's not the answer. Okay, let's look at it again. Okay, what is this over here? What is this over on the passenger side? What does that look like? What does that exhaust look like? Go ahead. Somebody shout it out. Somebody tell me what that looks like. Are you going to offer different coils? No, because you don't need different coils. You need stock coils. You just need to change the dwell and bring the plug gap down. Everybody drink your spicy beverage. It made lots of power. In fact, it made 700 like this. What's everybody seeing? What's everybody seeing? Come on, look at it. Look at it. It's up on the screen. It's right there, plain as day. Stop. You should look. Stop not believing your eyes. The low buck truck cam on your site are those pulls off of a 5.3. I think that the numbers that are on there right now are a 5.7, but we have 5.3 and 6.0 stuff too. Intercooler, does the motor have exhaust? I can see the turbo and the intercooler. Yeah, the turbo and the intercooler looks like a stock exhaust manifold. No, it's not a stock exhaust manifold. One bank turbo setup. There we go. Mark's got it. That's a header on that side. That's a header. That's an open header that goes out to the back of the dyno. One side is driving the turbo. The other side is just a header. You can't see the, oh, here, let me see if I can make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? Let's see. Nope. That didn't do it. Let's see. How about that? Can you see now? Is that better? Now you can see this over here. See that header? That's its header. You can even see the end of it. You can see the end of the collector extension. Womp. Could you guys see it better like that? Nothing changed. Can't even see. Can't even see the mouse. I wonder what's going on there. Us big phone watchers are like the LS inches, 1 inch big. I want to say one bank of turbo setup, but I didn't. I thought everyone would laugh at me. No, Steven, that's good. Did VW have an engine like that? The Saab did, Dan. Saab had a V6 where they were their asymmetrical turbo V6. Header versus manifold. Half. I can't see it good enough either. I was trying to figure out what it was. Does that make more back pressure on one bank? No, it makes a lot less back pressure driving it with one bank. Give me the Wraith Turbo Interceptor. Just thought you had a lot of piping. Thought we were running the exhaust all the way around the backside of the dyno and then back to the turbo. No. Would direct injected heads work better on a turbo setup on a 5.3? Why would that be the case? Make your vid full screen, then pinch and swipe outward from the pinch. Oh, he's telling you guys how to do it. I thought that it would work. I thought that when I made it full screen that it would just do that and everyone would be able to see it. Apparently not. You guys will get to see all that anyway. There's a whole bunch of testing coming up on that. But it does work. It does work. Yeah, that's just a header on one side. That's just all motor over there on that exit side. Another sob story. I saw a video earlier, Whistling Dixon. Yeah, I saw the Whistling Diesel with all those turbos on. That was cool. I my hat's off to the guys just making that thing run. It's amazing. If one bank has more pressure, the other one has less. Well, one side technically doesn't have any pressure. The header shouldn't have hardly, I mean, maybe any back pressure. Do you like Cletus make a 300-foot long charge pipe? Yeah, I'd like to see that retested. He does a lot of cool stuff. The real crazy way to do this is use the front or back since they are V4s, not inline 4s. Do you see all the gauges on the dash? I didn't see it on the 16 to 18 turbo thing. And he broke the motor. That doesn't surprise me at all. But it's just cool, though. Like I said, it's just complicated sometimes even to get all of that stuff working. And my hat's off to people that do stuff like that. Because I know how much work can be and stuff. Just when you're doing twin setup, you can only afford half the setup at a time. Actually, we're working on something like this, and I think it would work really well. There's the same amount of boost gauges. So they had boost gauges hooked up to like the exit of all the turbos. Because I didn't track where all the things were going to, but were they like compounding, double and triple compounding? All right, Eric, we'll see you later, man. I didn't see it. I just saw the front of it with all the turbos whistling away. The turbo setup on that truck was barely making any boost. It was rolling coal, and if it had any boost, it would have been roasting all 4 tires. The problem with having that many turbos, and then we run across the same thing here, obviously to a much lesser extent. But if you don't have enough exhaust energy to drive the turbo, then good things don't happen. Have you ever died on GEM fuel? It's a blend of gas, ethanol, methanol, and tunes the same as the 85, but makes more power. I've never tried it. Where do you get that? It's a work in progress. We can only afford 1 turbo. Well, but nobody says that when you just have 1 blower on there, or when you only have a single turbo with the exhaust, going to 1. I just wonder if I found a boat motor with direct injected 5.3. I didn't know that there was a direct injected cylinder head for LS engines. I don't know that there is one. There is a direct injected 5.3 that's a L83 that's a Gen 5 motor, but my question isn't that. The Gen 5 motor makes more power than the Gen 4 motor, but the turbo ultimately decides the power. So either one of them with 1,000 horsepower turbo are going to make either one's going to make 1,000 horsepower. If it doesn't have stripes, you're not going to win. You need a lot of tiny turbos. RHB 5s, the K-car turbos, yeah. You have to blend it yourself or have VP or Sunoco do it. No, I never tried that. I do want to run methanol. I want to try that. I do want to try that. That would be fun. Ethanol, gas, and methanol. What is the reasoning behind having the ethanol and the gas in there? Why wouldn't you just run methanol? Isn't that going to make the most power? Like the 1 big turbo in the middle out front. Here we go. You just sent the file over. You just said, okay, like we got that run. Everything's good. Everybody's happy. It's working good. This motor got 40, another 45 or 50 pulls on it over the weekend. Heard C85 is a blend of methanol and ethanol, and they say it adds 4% over E85. The ethanol has to carry the methanol, and it's more efficiency and power versus just running M1 or 5. The Geo wants 200 horsepower. It does. I really want to make 200. And there's an event coming up in July that the Metro would be good in. I need to talk to somebody who's familiar with the Metro stuff versus the Sprint stuff. I need to find out if the things that I've done to the heads and the pistons and all that will work in the Metro motor. Is there a difference in fueling bank to bank that needs to be changed on this motor? Are you asking, Dirt Cheap? This motor just runs like it's well, I'm assuming it just runs like it's a turbo motor. We are only taking, and that's a good point. I should have tried and put the O2 sensor on the other side as well to see if there's a difference in air fuel side to side. Because then we could have adjusted that if there wasn't. I never even looked at that. We only ever ran the O2 sensor on the out of the turbo. But there'll be less back pressure on that side, so maybe we would see a change in fueling. I don't know. Without the back pressure, would it allow all the boost to bleed out the other side? I don't think that happens. Metro will make 199. Probably that's more normal. I would just like it to go 100. I'd like it to go 150 plus miles an hour. I'd like to see you build a small block Chevy with Pontiac 455 pistons and a Dodge crank. Well, why would I want to do that? BP Racing has it blended already. Since it's pushing boost to both, shouldn't be much different. I don't think it will be, but I can't say that it isn't until I have actually checked it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't believe that I didn't think to just make one run, because we made, like I said, 40 or 50, that I could have made one run at the end of all this and just run it over on the header side. New to the boosted LS, what are your thoughts on Haltech versus Holley versus stock and HP? Worth the extra for a street truck? The cheapest way to do it is just use the stock ECU, go to Matt, get follow one of his things that he does, get one of his tunes, and away you go. That's the cheapest way, especially for a street truck. Aftermarket ECUs are always worth it if you can afford it, says Tim. Jaded, what is possible? Oh, because it's possible to do that? What is the bore size on a 455 piston? Because it's possible higher rever. Well, the stroke and the piston and stuff don't determine whether the motor can rev. That's determined by the valve train. Pontiac pins are heavy, 990s. Yeah, Tim, I know. I've grown. I'm answering thoughts questions. A good racing platform will be a Porsche Boxer with a blown-up motor replaced with the K24. I agree with that. There's almost nothing that a K24 doesn't help solve. Jimmy just ran a C5 Corvette with the turbo K24 in it. It made a lot of power. Ed Smith built one for a sprint car. Okay. C85 does not have methanol. Yeah, the E85 is as exotic as I've gotten. And that's not terribly exotic. It's just really convenient just to go down and get it from the local 76 station. So hoping somebody comes through and hits my inbox with a bin of speed density custom OS for the P01 and the P59. They're not banging your door down. K24 and a 924. I would like that, or even a 944, just because the body looks cooler. It's just not as fast because it's not as aero. Remember, I used to tell people that because I owned a 924. God, that's a terrible body. Those are too wide. They're not aerodynamic. Here, me over here with 90 horsepower or whatever. I use E85R from Sunoco. I've got a set of brand new black diamond pistons that were for Alan Johnson. I think I could fit them in an LS. Are those the top fuel stuff? I can't trust E85. Why not? We've never had a problem. I've never even checked E85 anywhere. How much horsepower can I get out of Blueprint 347? Well, what are they rated at? Whatever they rated at, that's how much it makes. They're pretty good about that. I'd rather have a V8 Miata than a V8 Boxster. I've driven V8 Miatas. They're fun, but the handling wasn't very good on them. Turbo high boosted smart car. Yeah, that's good. I've seen that. I was shocked how much 50-degree cam phasers on the K24 make in the mid-range. That's what Jimmy was saying. Jimmy was just talking about the tuning that they did on that one, but then also on the BMW that he did and how much the cam timing altered it. Top fuel pistons have rings way down below the deck. How thick is that crown? There's an NA K24 Miata. I did on one of the forums. That I like those motors. I think they're good. I haven't looked at the 3800 in a long time. All right, Sean. Sean's out, and we got one more minute. Sean called it. He ruined it for everybody. Yeah, look at that exhaust. Look at that scabby Ritchie welded exhaust. Not the nice part, the bad part. I haven't measured them. Yeah, I'd like to see how thick that crown is, how far down it is for the first ringman. I would imagine it's a lot. Place near me has E85, but the small print shows it can be anywhere from E51 to E83. So would you run that with boost? I run nothing but that with boost, and there hasn't ever been any difference. In fact, if you look at actual testing that's been done, there's not a lot of gain going from E50 to E85. So yeah, that's what I run. The E85 that I run from the pump is not E85. I would doubt I doubt it's ever E85. It's probably closer to E50. Whatever's cheapest for them to make. They're about 3/4 of an inch down below the deck height, but the valve release are really big. Valve lift is 800. Okay. Rated at 415. Dyno, but maybe a larger carb. Yeah, it's not going to make a whole bunch more power than that. I filled up and instantly blew up my motor. Your motor was tuned for E85, and you're saying that you put some sort of pump E85 in it and you blew your motor up? I find that hard to believe. I just doubt how you could be on the edge like that. And did it not have a knock sensor on it or anything? Zoom in on the wells. I don't think I can zoom in. You said, Matt, get one of his tunes. Where do I find them? Matt who? It's Matt Happel at Sloppy Mechanics. Matthew. To drive an hour to get E85, as far as I know. I need to recheck and see if anyone has started selling it closer. Yeah. We are never that close to the 15 psi. I got E85 and instantly cracked my motor a half a block away. Yeah, something else happened. It's not the E85 that you put in there. That's not the problem, unless you put 87 in there. Could you run the Geo on a Haltech with fuel injection setup? Yeah, I have a Haltech, and I think that's what we're going to try to run it with. Richard, do you want to build a motor? No, I don't really want to build a motor. I will steer you in the right direction, though. I would assume it would need more fuel because there's better scavenging pulling all the exhaust out, but would like to know if my theory is right. An hour away means bring a drum. Yeah, maybe a couple. Maybe you take your truck there with a couple of drums and fill them up. Alan Johnson lives just 10 minutes from me, so some of his stuff ends up around here. Okay, that's cool. Top Fuel stuff is kind of cool. Always check the videos before I go down the rabbit hole. Yeah, good idea. Hard to go wrong with junkyard motors. Junkyard motors and ring gap. And now I could say, hey, look, you guys should do ring gap, because I've done ring gap. Even before I knew I did ring gap, I did ring gap on the L33. I still would like to hone those cylinders, though. I wanted to do a ball hone on it. But, what can you do? It's fine. It's getting new rings or it's getting new rings, but it's getting new rods and pistons in it anyways. And then I'll be happy because it'll all be clean too, which will be nice. It'll be all clean and fancy. Go back together. And it'd be fun to drive around in a turbo motor that's not I mean, the Omni is cool and the Sprint was cool and all that. But I haven't driven the Mustang in a long time. And the last time I drove it where it made even reasonable power was with a Vortec on it. That was fun, but not like 700 or 800 horsepower fun. We'll be taking plastic 55-gallon drums to get the 85. Yeah, the plastic ones are nice. Responsive turbo vehicles are fun. I know, Utah. I know if I put a bigger turbo on the Omni, which obviously I'm already thinking about, but I know I will be unhappy that it won't be as fun. Plastic drums okay for 85? Yeah, it should be fine. Just as long as it seals. And on that note, guess what? It is time to go. Thank you guys for all showing up. And I will be back tomorrow. I'm excited. We're getting close to turbo time. Turbo time.